Okay, good morning, guys. Hope you're all doing well. I've got a massive video for you guys today because what we've seen in the past week of Bitcoin land, I think, is going to change Bitcoin for the rest of this decade. I think we're going to see some massive things in the coming 6 months, especially. And it was all kicked off because of El Salvador and their groundbreaking announcement. Okay, earlier this week, they became the first nation state to announce that they're going to try and push for a bill through Parliament to make Bitcoin legal tender. And what we've seen in the 3 days after that announcement has absolutely been a tidal wave of Bitcoin adoption. Okay, literally the day after the El Salvadorian news, we had a congressman from Paraguay, another small country also in South America, announce the exact same thing. He also changed his profile picture on Twitter to laser eyes. For those of you who don't know that meme, and for those of you that aren't on Twitter, that's a little bit of a Bitcoin meme, okay? We all changed our profile picture to laser eyes. It was the old laser ray until 100K, and after the El Salvadorian president pushed through that bill through Parliament, he changed his profile picture on Twitter with the beautiful laser eyes. So just for reference, that's what the laser eyes mean. So Paraguay, a politician over there, made a similar announcement. He said that he will start with an important project relating to Bitcoin adoption in the nation. And he also came out the day after that and said that announcement is coming in the following week. So you got El Salvador, you got Paraguay. Guess what happened later that day? Brazil, okay? A politician in Brazil, same thing, changed his profile picture to laser eyes, and he is actually quoted to say in Parliament, taxation is theft. That's fucking correct. Taxation is theft. Inflation is taxation without representation, and it's awesome to be seeing parliamentary members coming out and speaking the truth on a big stage, okay, in Parliament. That's massive. So, El Salvador, Paraguay, Brazil, guess what? The names and the countries are just going to keep getting bigger. That same day, Argentina, okay? Another Argentinian politician. Very similar announcement here. Laser eyes on Twitter. I need to get my Argentinian speaking friends to translate that little announcement. But then again, later that day, we're up to yesterday now. Panama, same announcement, okay? A congressman in the National Assembly of Panama has declared his intent to propose Bitcoin favorable legislation. Okay, this is the beautiful geopolitical game theory of Bitcoin, okay? You can't stop it, and once somebody's kind of broken that damn wall, it's an absolute frenzy to get on the Bitcoin train, okay? You can't stop it, and you don't want to see your neighboring countries benefit from adopting it earlier than you and getting ahead of the curve. Okay, we got some more announcements as well. We had Mexico. Now, this is the biggest one in my eyes. Mexico is a big country. I'm pretty sure they might actually be the US's one of the largest trade partners with the US. Okay, they're not a small country at all. And towards the end of this video, we might actually start breaking down some of the balance sheets of each of these respective South American countries and have a look at how many US dollars they hold and have a look at how many Bitcoins are actually available for sale, because 80% of the Bitcoin supply is actually illiquid in the hands of psycho hodlers like myself who are not going to give up and sell our Bitcoin for anything less than 10 to $20 million per coin. So you're seeing all of this adoption, okay? But there's only a limited amount of Bitcoin to go around. We'll finish the video maybe doing a little bit of maths on that front because that'll get you bullish, don't you worry. But yeah, here's just another dude in the lower house of Mexico. Bitcoin is hope for a more inclusive future. He said that he will be promoting and proposing a legal framework. He used the dirty word for crypto coins in Mexico's lower house. Don't you worry. The cyber hornets were into him in the comments saying Bitcoin, not shitcoin. You love to see that. Good on the cyber hornets. You gotta love a little bit of toxicity. And then after that announcement, only 7 hours ago, guess what? Another country, a little bit of a smaller one, but in Ecuador. And His name is Julius, has added Bitcoin laser eyes to his profile picture and retweeted calls for Jack Mallers' Strike app to become adopted in Ecuador. Now, touching on Jack Mallers and the awesome work he is doing, we might look at the video that started it all. Give me a little bit of a break so I can grab a drink, and we'll have a look at the initial announcement from the El Salvadorian president that he made live at the Bitcoin 2021 conference in Miami. Only 4 days ago. So we might pop that little video up. It's just a little 1-minute clip, and then we'll get into some more really interesting kind of game theory plots that look to be taking place at the moment.
That is why next week I will send to Congress a bill that will make Bitcoin a legal tender in El Salvador. In the short term, this will generate jobs and help provide financial inclusion to thousands outside the formal economy. And in the medium and long term, we hope that this small decision can help us keep commanding at least tiny bit until the right election. I enjoy politics to leave a legacy for my country. By while doing it, and by working with like-minded people, maybe we can help create a legacy for the world.
I want to read my favorite part from the proposed bill. Central banks are increasingly taking actions that may cause harm to the economic stability of El Salvador. That in order to mitigate the negative impact from central banks, it becomes necessary to authorize the circulation of a digital currency with a supply that cannot be controlled by any central bank and is only altered in accord with the objective and calculable criteria. So as of now, El Salvador is set to be the first Bitcoin country and the first country to make Bitcoin legal tender and treat it as a world currency and have a Bitcoin on their reserves.
Absolutely phenomenal work by Jack Mallers there. Highly encourage everybody to go and check out the full-length video on YouTube. That's some moving shit. And that brings us on to why all of these South American countries are being forced to adopt Bitcoin, okay? They're the ones that suffer the most from inflation. Okay, a lot of the countries in there have had some real issues with inflation of their local currencies. Argentina specifically has actually had 3 hyperinflationary events in the past 20 years of their Argentinian peso. And a lot of these countries are actually dollarized, okay? So they're reliant on the US dollar. So when the United States expands its money supply by 20 to 30%, like it did in 2020, and Biden shows no signs of slowing down, he's directly impacting these poor people in South America who rely on the US dollar to store their value in. So that's why they're choosing to adopt a currency that can't be manipulated and can't be printed by any evil central banker, and that is Bitcoin. Okay, you can't print any more Bitcoin, and it's going to be awesome to see these South American people in a lot of hardship be able to store their wealth. Okay, another interesting and really important topic that's skipped over is in El Salvador, 70% of the population is actually unbanked. And something like $6 billion is lost through cross-border remittances, where the banks in the region will take a large portion of the transactions of the money being sent in and out of the country. Okay, sometimes it could be between 20, 30, 40, and 50% of the money that's actually being sent across the borders. So of course, Bitcoin fixes that. Borderless, uncensorable money, baby, and that's what we're all about. Jack Mallers getting them onboarded onto the Bitcoin Lightning Network. That's awesome. Now, more bullish news. The Giga Chad himself, Michael Saylor, is raising another $500 million of debt to buy more Bitcoin. Brian Brooks, who was the former comptroller of the currency in the United States, came out yesterday and he actually said, I'm trying to find the direct quote here, but he said Bitcoin has won. I can't find that at the moment, but you're just going to have to trust me on that one. Go and verify it for yourselves. And then another really important point I wanted to run you guys through before we round it out and have a look at some more interesting kind of game theoretical responses from the United States. I wanted to show you guys, sorry, I'm burping on you guys. One more announcement too. An advisor to the president of Colombia, another South American country, is now messaging Jack Mallers, who is the one responsible for getting the ball rolling in these South American countries with El Salvador. Sorry, I can't find it. We'll move on anyway to, this is a little map showing the Bitcoin adoption in all these South American countries. This needs to be updated as well, because we now have Colombia doing the same thing. Venezuela up the very kind of northern regions of South America has high levels of Bitcoin adoption. But now we're going to move on to a Gandhi quote that I think is pretty timely. Okay, first they ignore you. That was the first 10 years of Bitcoin. Then they laugh at you. That was all the critics and the Jamie Dimons in 2017 declaring Bitcoin was a Ponzi, a bubble, tulips, and Jamie Dimon saying that he'd fire anyone for any one of his employees who were caught trading Bitcoin. And then they fight you. Okay, we haven't won yet. Okay, I think we've got a pretty good chance of winning this battle, but I think we're maybe at the then they fight you stage, because what we saw yesterday was a bunch of coincidences, if you ask me. We haven't heard anything from Trump in months, okay? And then all of these South American countries come out and start announcing their Bitcoin adoption. And, what happens? Trump's on national news declaring Bitcoin's a threat to the US dollars, and he thinks it's a scam. Yeah, we'll tune into a little clip from Trump. Orange man bad, orange coin good.
Market at this moment. I have in the past, but I have not at this moment. I think it's high. Bitcoin, it just seems like a scam. I was surprised. With us, it was at 6,000 and much lower. I don't like it because it's another currency competing against the dollar. Essentially, it's a currency competing against the dollar. I want the dollar to be the currency of the world. That's what I've always said.
And you know why they want the dollar to be the currency of the world? So they can continue extracting wealth from these poor South American countries and continuing to drop bombs on the countries in the Middle East who try to price their commodities in something that's not the US dollar. Okay, we've seen that since we've been on this petrodollar standard. Whenever a country tries to escape the US dollar I can't say that word, but the US dollar supremacy, they get acted on swiftly. We saw that with Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi as well, who respectively tried to price their commodities in the euro, and they tried to make a gold-backed currency. This was in the late 1990s, and then surprise, surprise, 9/11 popped up in 2001, and then in the 10 years following that, you saw massive wars in the Middle East, where the US dropped bombs on all these countries that tried to price their commodities in oil. Awful strange of coincidences. I love coincidences here on the channel. Don't worry, I won't go and get out the tinfoil hat just yet, but just another coincidence that caught my eye yesterday. So this was on the same day Trump came out and started bashing Bitcoin. We also had, we all heard of the cyber attack and ransomware attack that took down the Colonial Pipeline in the US a month or two back, which left oil shortages across the country, across certain regions of the country. But essentially, the FBI came out yesterday and said, yeah, no, don't worry. We've caught these really sophisticated hackers who are able to take down a major oil pipeline in the US. These hackers left their Bitcoin on Coinbase. Yep, we've caught them. Just an awful coincidence. I think it's just another psyop, as if sophisticated hackers would leave their Bitcoins on Coinbase exchange. I'm calling bullshit on that, and I'm calling bullshit on the timing of Donald Trump's announcement. It looks all too obvious to me, but for some of you guys, friends and family who have got into Bitcoin, just be aware of these narratives and the propaganda you're about to see on the news, okay? look at the action and the adoption of Bitcoin around the world in these South American countries and ignore the noise, okay, that you're going to see in the news, because this is going to be part of the fight you stage. Okay, there's no longer going to be fights in the physical land, like the US dropping bombs on the Middle East. When it's a fight over a digital currency, you're going to see more of a digital battle and a battle of words and narratives. Okay, we're all familiar of propaganda narratives from 2020. I won't get into that in this video, but you're going to see lots of propaganda and FUD to shake you out of your Bitcoin position, because these whales and these guys inside the US Treasury want to adopt Bitcoin for themselves, and they will do anything to suppress the price as long as they can, so their buddies can accumulate. Because as you're seen by these absolute frenzy of announcements in these Latin American countries, the race to accumulate a Bitcoin position has happened, and as we're about to check out, there is only a limited amount of Bitcoin, with 80% of the supply actually being illiquid and not moving for over a year or something. We're going to double check that fact in a second and break it all down. I just wanted to show you guys, there was another big announcement from a guy in the US Parliament. Okay, so here he is. Tim Wu is part of the top antitrust US advisor to President Biden on technology and competition policy. And he came out and he announced that he holds between $1 and $5 million in Bitcoin. Famously, he was another critic in 2017 who called it a bubble. And now Bitcoin makes up between 25% and 43% of his total assets. Not financial advice, but I think he's short Bitcoin. But moving on, we're going to have a look at the next part of this video I've got prepared for you guys. Yeah, okay, scrap that idea, guys. I didn't realize the video had already gotten so long. So maybe in a follow-up video, we'll have a look at the US dollar reserves of each of these respective South American countries, and we'll have a look at how much inflows we could be seeing into Bitcoin, given there's such limited supply available for sale. We might do a few cheeky FOMO-induced calculations as well. So I'll probably leave this video here. I hate to do this, I always hate this part of the video, but if you've liked the video, hit the like button and the subscribe button. You've got to play along with the Ponzi YouTube algorithms. It helps to get the video in the eyes of more people, and in the times of a global mass adoption, that's what we want. We want to onboard as many people onto the Bitcoin lifeboats as we can before the big money gets in. Okay, so have a good day, guys, and we'll keep an eye out for the follow-up video because I think this year's going to get interesting. And one last thing, zoom out, okay? All of these announcements came after Bitcoin's had a 50% correction. Remember, that's normal in a bull market. Absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. Reminds me a lot of 2013, but it's just something to keep note of, that all of these announcements came after a 50% drop in price, okay? So it looks like the big money's accumulating on the dip. I think you guys should be too. Because when we look forward at the end of this decade, it's not going to matter if you buy Bitcoin at 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, or even 100,000. When Bitcoin's 8 figures, and in my eyes, I think it's going to be worth at least $10 million a coin by 2030. It's not going to matter what price you get in on at the moment. Okay, so buy every dip you can, and remember, not your keys, not your cheese. Okay, don't be surprised if you see any coins that you have on exchanges is not your Bitcoin, especially with all this talk about ransomware attacks, and you're getting the stampede of Bitcoin adoption. Remember, 80% of the Bitcoin supply is illiquid, and these larger currencies, even in the Western so-called democracies, could do some pretty outlandish things. Okay, the US has a history of confiscating store of value assets. Executive Order 6102, when the US banned gold in 1933 for private ownership. I wouldn't be surprised to see them do a similar thing and confiscate all Bitcoins on exchanges. as a national security act. So not your keys, not your cheese. Get your coins off exchanges and buy the dip. See you guys in the next video.